A brand new, all-you-can-eat buffet just emerged in Las Vegas at a major strip property run by one of the biggest names in hospitality and priced at $65 a person. When I heard all that, my taste buds perked up with expectations of creative, well-executed, diverse dishes. This is Let's Eat Vegas, your guide to the good, the bad, and the delicious. I'm a chef and former restaurant owner, and I tell it like it is. Okay, let's take a closer look. We're starting with shrimp cocktail. And right away, this looks exactly how it should. Big prawns, clean presentation, everything you'd expect at a buffet like this. And it's all happening right in the heart of the Strip at the Venetian Hotel and Casino at a place called Tao Asian Bistro. It's a beautiful setting, and I can't wait to dig into these shrimp. The prawns are big, plump, and fresh, with that sweet, ocean-kissed flavor that tells you right away they're handled properly. And the cocktail sauce? This isn't your standard fare. It's house-made, thicker than most, chunky with tomato, layered with chili, and it's got a subtle Szechuan-style numbing heat that gives it a little edge. Bright, bold, and well-seasoned, with just enough kick to wake everything up. Well, this is a good start. We might be in for something really good today. They have a full section dedicated to nigiri, and visually, looks solid. I'm starting with salmon, tuna, and yellowtail. Right away, the color tells you a lot. Bright, vibrant, clean, no off fishy smell. The tuna is good quality, fresh, clean tasting. Is it top tier sushi restaurant level? No, but for a buffet, it's better than most. The salmon is where this really works. Nice and fatty, exactly what you want. A little wasabi, a touch of soy, it's all it needs. The yellowtail, not quite on the same level. It's fresh, but there's a slight funk that throws it off just a bit. Still, not bad. So, could you do better over in Chinatown? Absolutely. But for a buffet, this is respectable. Let's start with the sashimi. They offer two, tuna and yellowtail. And I'll be honest, I rarely come to a buffet for sashimi. In a city like Las Vegas, there are too many great sushi spots that specialize in it. So this already has a higher bar to clear. The tuna? Well, without rice, there's nothing to hide behind, so you're tasting the fish straight up. It's fair quality, not bad, but not close to what you get at a top-tier sushi bar. A little soy, a touch of wasabi, that helps. But this isn't something I'd come here for. The yellowtail, a slight step down. It's sliced nicely, clean presentation, but there's a fishy note that throws it off. Again, edible, but far from memorable. You can tell they're putting in effort here. The rolls look like they're trying to be something more, but they just don't quite get there. This one's a little sloppy. The tuna has a decent hit of spice, but the fish itself has that same slight off note. And that's really all I need to make the call. They serve it with sriracha sauce, and yeah, that helps. It makes it more palatable, but it also tells you something if it needs to hide behind the sauce. This one's a bit confusing. It's labeled a spicy yellowtail roll, but it's topped with salmon. I asked, and yes, that's how they're presenting it. Inside you've got spicy yellowtail, avocado, and cucumber, but for something called spicy, there's barely any heat. And again, the quality just isn't there. Look, this isn't top-tier sushi, and that's okay at a buffet. You're going to have stronger stations and weaker ones. Well, this is one you can skip. So right now, it's a bit of a mixed start. Some things are working, some things clearly aren't. But at a place of this caliber, you'll usually see it swing back in the right direction. Next, we moved on to the fried wontons. It's an Asian-style chips and salsa. And right away you notice something. They know how to make sauces here. The duck sauce has that nostalgic, slightly sweet profile that takes you straight back to the 70s. But it's cleaner, more refined. Then there's the chili oil. Rich, layered, made with chili flakes, sesame oil, and a touch of fish sauce. It has an XO sauce-style depth. And the darker sauce? That's your go-to for dumplings and gyoza. Savory, balanced, and built for dipping. If a place gets the sauces right, that usually means, with regard to the food, you're in good hands. So, a nice turnaround from the direction of the sushi and the sashimi. If you like food reviews that explain why something does or does not work and isn't just hype, well, consider subscribing. Did you know, according to YouTube, 60% of you viewing right now are not subscribed? It means a lot to us and helps us grow. I don't know about you, but I love a good salad. And peanut dressing, when it's done right, well, that's something for which I've always had a soft spot. This one's simple, served in a small boat-shaped dish with shredded cabbage and julienne carrots. But the dressing is what matters. Sweet, savory, nicely balanced, rich without being heavy. Now look, this isn't why you come here, to fill up on salad. There are too many big-ticket items for that. But as a lighter bite in between, this works. And now, one of the most ubiquitous items in dim sum. And honestly, one of the hardest to mess up. But yet, they found a way. The wrappers are scratch-made, but not well executed. They're rubbery, a little dense, and lack that delicate bite you're looking for. The filling is a classic pork and shrimp, but there's a lingering fishy taste that throws everything off. They top it with a bit of carrot instead of the traditional roe, and honestly, that might be a good move. Because if the base has that off flavor, roe would only push it further in the wrong direction. Are these the worst I've ever had? No. Trust me, I've had much worse. But in a city like Las Vegas, I could name 100 places to get better shumai. And for a higher end place, I expected much better. Right away, the color jumps out at you. A bold neon green. And I'll be honest, I'm not convinced that's coming from anything that exists in nature. But setting that aside, the flavor is confusing. They're not bad, but they're definitely not something you'd come back for. The texture is fine, the presentation is eye-catching, and that's really where it stops. There's no depth of flavor, no real character, nothing that makes you go back for another bite. They say not to judge a book by its cover. It's so very true with this dish. Well, these are clearly house-made. I've never seen hargao that look this boxy and clunky. And while oddly squarish, they are very uniform, almost like they're using some kind of square mold or press in the back. So assuredly untraditional, but not a deal breaker. The skin is actually pretty good. That nice, glutinous, slightly chewy texture you want. A bit thicker than most, but it still works. And the shrimp, well, I was a little concerned, given some of the earlier fishy notes that seem to be an ongoing theme at this buffet. But these are clean, bright, fresh, with a subtle natural sweetness. It's exactly what you're looking for. Add a little sauce, and these come together nicely. Not perfect, but solid. These are actually pretty charming, branded with the Tao logo, which is a nice touch. But right away, temperature is an issue. They're a little cold, and buns like this should be piping hot. That said, the dough is clearly scratch-made, soft with a nice texture and good flavor. The filling works as well. Sweet barbecue pork with a noticeable 5-spice profile. So there's something here. Overall, not a standout. You could do worse, but you could also do a lot better. These are finished right at the station, pan-seared in a hot skillet to get that crispy bottom. And the wrapper? Honestly, I like it. Good texture, nice chew, with a bit of that golden sear adding contrast. But the filling, now that's where it falls apart. Pork, mushrooms, and cabbage, but very little seasoning, very little salt, and almost no depth of flavor. It just eats flat. And for a dumpling like this, the filling has to carry the dish. This one does not. Well, they certainly looked the part, but the execution, mediocre at best. And I'll be honest, I'm a little disappointed. I had higher expectations. For example, Hakkasan makes amazing dim sum and is also part of the Tao group, and they usually know what they're doing. These, though, easy to skip. The issue is they're bland. If it weren't for the video we took, I would have completely forgotten I ever ate one. The chili sauce is phenomenal, and it does a lot of heavy lifting, but a good pot sticker should stand on its own, and these do not. I'm starting to see a pattern. Some of this just isn't coming together the way it should. Well, still plenty of dishes left to right the ship. Well, this might be one of the best things I've had today. They're using dark meat chicken, and that makes all the difference. It's moist, flavorful, and properly marinated with those classic elements that give satay its signature taste. The char on the outside is excellent, deep, rich, slightly smoky, exactly what you want. And the peanut sauce? This is where they really shine. Rich, balanced, with that blend of peanut and curry, it's easily one of the strongest components of this buffet. You can tell they know how to make sauces here. Honestly, I could eat a bowl of that peanut sauce on its own. It's a standout. So this is a positive note. An entree dish excelling. Has me looking forward to these next entrees. One of my favorite dishes, and visually, this really pops. That fiery orange color jumps right out at you. But here's the thing with buffets. Not every piece is coming out at the same time. You can see it on the plate. Some pieces look fresh and crisp. Others have clearly been sitting in the chafing dish a bit longer. My first bite, dry. Second piece, much better. And that tells the story. When it's fresh, this is actually quite good. Crispy chicken coated in a balanced sauce that brings sweetness, black pepper heat, and a touch of that Szechuan-style numbing spice. Not overly sweet, which I like. But consistency is the issue. About half of what I had was right where it should be. The other half had fallen off from sitting too long. That's the risk with a dish like this one on a buffet. Catch it fresh, and it's a win. They need to step it up with this dish. As is, it's overcooked, greasy, and somehow still bland. It has a takeout feel, the kind of noodles that are there more to fill you up than to impress. No real texture, no real depth of flavor, just really heavy, forgettable food. This is pure filler at best, and another dish to skip. It's not clear why, but they're calling this breakfast fried rice. And honestly, this might be one of the worst fried rice dishes I've ever had. It's bland, greasy, and completely underseasoned, as though it never found its footing. No balance, no structure, nothing that makes you want to go back for another bite. Wishful thinking has you believing maybe another scoop will help. It doesn't. This feels like a dish that just gave up. Next. There's nothing better than salmon when it's done right. That would not be this. And here's the confusing part. They're turning it over quickly. It's busy. The trays aren't sitting long, so there's really no excuse. Yet the fish is overcooked, completely dried out, any moisture, a distant memory. And with that, you get that stronger fishy flavor that shouldn't be there. The glaze doesn't help. It's thin, barely noticeable. Honestly, if you didn't tell me it was honey glazed, I wouldn't have known. And the vegetables, they add nothing. At a buffet at this level, this just shouldn't happen. I see what they're trying to do here, a fusion of breakfast and Chinese street food. But honestly, this is another miss. Egg, cheese, and ham wrapped in a spring roll. On paper, maybe it works. On the plate, not for me. Even that excellent duck sauce can't save it. Feels like a waste of valuable stomach space. At first bite, I wasn't even sure what I was eating. The Tokyo slider, it's a fried chicken patty, but it's built more like a fast food burger. Pickles, cheese, it actually tastes a lot like a McDonald's sandwich, except not as good. And the brioche bun, a little stale, which doesn't help. And then the Wagyu slider. This is where things really fell apart. The meat is thin, overcooked and dry, and for something labeled Wagyu, there's just no care here at all. No richness, no juiciness, no respect for the ingredient. Honestly, another pass. They slice this razor thin, almost too thin. If you want something thicker though, don't be shy, just ask. Now, as far as the temperature goes, this is clearly meant to be served on the rare side. If you're looking for well done, this isn't the station for you. But if you like your beef the way many chefs do, this falls right in that lane. The flavor is big, nicely charred, seasoned with what feels like black pepper, maybe a touch of cardamom and mace. There's a warm, spiced depth to it. And the texture? Incredibly tender, packed with rich, beefy umami, a deep, savory flavor that keeps you going back for another bite. And no, umami is not MSG. Now, an odd thing, they offer a chimichurri on the side. Honestly, it has no business being here. It's a strange pairing anyway, but at a buffet that actually does sauces pretty well, I was expecting more. But this is one of the worst chimichurri sauces I've had. Little tip, for the best chimichurri in the city, check out Aqua Bar and Grill at the Shalimar Hotel. That's a whale of a chimichurri. Anyway, here, they could have done something much better. But taken on its own, this is an excellent cut of beef and one of the stronger items on the buffet. And here we are again, back to what seems to be the seafood theme of this buffet, that fishy edge. This dish actually looks promising, something you'd expect to be rich, balanced, and satisfying, but it simply does not deliver. There's very little depth of flavor, and the shrimp, again, leans too fishy, which ends up dominating everything else on the plate. And the scallops, well, I went looking for them. What I got instead were small pieces that felt more like water chestnuts than actual scallops. Not exactly what you were hoping for. This is one of those dishes that looks better than it tastes, and ultimately falls short of expectations. But with the exception of the Kobe beef, these entree dishes haven't helped their cause. I'm still looking for something that really delivers, something that justifies the price. I can name plenty of places in Chinatown where pork belly is a standout dish. This can't even come close to those. It looks the part, crispy on the outside, good color, but that's where it ends. And that's disappointing, because I love pork belly. As I always say, where there's fat, there's flavor. At least there should be. But here, the fat just doesn't deliver. Instead of that clean, rich pork flavor, there's something off. Slightly gamey, almost stale. And that's a big problem for a dish like this. It should be indulgent, crispy, flavorful, something you can't stop eating. This is not that. And then they serve it with a salsa, which honestly feels completely out of place. Another attempt to do something different for the sake of being different, but which makes no culinary sense. For a dish I normally love, this is a miss. I hate to say it, but I actually had to spit this out after my first bite. At first glance, I thought this might be the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel. It was, but unfortunately that light was an oncoming train. They offer these fresh shucked oysters with a house-made cocktail sauce or a classic mignonette. I went with the latter, lighter, vinegar-based, so it doesn't mask the flavor of the oysters. And then just a touch of their house-made hot sauce on top. That's all it needs. These alone make a serious case for the $65 price tag. You could easily eat enough oysters here to make that feel like a steal. And the quality backs it up. They're clean, fresh, not even slightly fishy, which tells me they're turning them over fast and shucking constantly to keep up with demand. If I hadn't already eaten more than any single human should eat at one sitting, I'd be running up for many more plates. For oyster lovers, this is a dream come true. All right, always one of my favorite moments, dessert. Let's see how they finish this out. I love it when buffets offer these smaller individual desserts. It's what Las Vegas buffets have always been known for. Variety and the chance to try a little bit of everything. This hazelnut mousse is a nice little bite. The texture is good, smooth, rich, and balanced. I'd like to see it a little lighter, a little more airy, and the cream could be a touch more delicate, but overall, enjoyable. This is usually one of my favorites, but this one falls short. The pastry's too heavy, lacking that light, buttery texture it should have. The lemon filling is just okay, not tart enough to really balance the sweetness. And the meringue, not quite there. A little too loose to hold its structure and overly sweet. So instead of contrast and balance, everything just blends together. This one's a bit too dense. A good panna cotta should have that light, delicate bounce. This is thick, heavy, and lacks that softness. The berry coulis is actually nice, tart, sweet, and well-balanced, but it can't carry the dish. The granola adds a little texture, which helps, but not enough to bring it all together. This one just lacks heart, and honestly, it barely tastes like banana. If you didn't tell me it was in there, I'm not sure I'd even have guessed. In fact, you might want to file a missing bananas report. Instead of that rich, comforting pudding you expect, this feels more like a basic pastry cream. Flat, a little bland, and missing the depth that makes banana pudding so satisfying. This one doesn't hit. Maybe I've got a little buffet Stockholm syndrome going on. Maybe this is actually pretty good. Either way, it works. The mousse is rich, dense, and intensely chocolatey, with those deeper, slightly bitter dark chocolate notes that real chocolate lovers look for. At the same time, it still has some structure, light air pockets that keep it from feeling too heavy. And even the whipped cream, which is on the denser side, still works here. It complements the mousse instead of weighing it down. This is a solid dessert. This is a great little bite. You can tell chocolate mousse is a strength here. The filling is rich, smooth, and deeply chocolatey, leaning into those slightly bitter notes that real chocolate lovers seek. The pastry shell is well made, crisp, structured, and holding everything together the way it should. Honestly, this might even earn a handshake from Paul Hollywood. And the raspberry? That's what brings it all together. Bright, tart, just enough contrast to cut through the richness of the chocolate. I like my chocolate with a little edge, as bitter as a banker's heart. And this one delivers. Okay, so today, it's not exactly an anniversary. Let's say anniversary adjacent. So I may have stretched the truth a little, but I'm sure it's someone's anniversary somewhere. So happy anniversary. And honestly, it was worth it. Because this is a fun dessert, and one which would be a shame not to share with you all. A giant house-made fortune cookie. Light, crisp, with those classic vanilla notes you remember. It's dipped in dark chocolate, rolled in hazelnuts, and finished with a dusting of crushed nuts. Just a great texture all the way around. And then inside, you get two sides. On one, the vanilla mousse, rich, dense, and perfect for dipping pieces of that cookie. On the other, their chocolate mousse, deep, slightly bitter, and just as good. It turns into this interactive dessert, breaking off pieces, dipping, mixing flavors. It's playful, and it works. The cookie itself is nicely balanced, sweet, but not overly so. And the fresh fruit on the side, a nice clean finish to the whole thing. Chocolate and fruit together, always a win in my book. This is a great way to end the meal. So what happened? It's not one dish, it's consistency across the board. One plate works, the next one doesn't, and that's the problem. When you come to a buffet like this, you're not just paying for one or two good dishes, you're paying for a lineup that holds up from start to finish. And right now, it just doesn't. There are a few bright spots, but too much of this feels uneven, under-seasoned, or just not executed properly, especially for a buffet on the Strip. Now, to be fair, this is a brand new buffet, and sometimes places like this need a little time to find their footing. So this might be one worth revisiting in a few months to see if things start to come together. But as it stands right now, if you know exactly what to get, you can put together a decent meal. But if you're expecting a strong, well-rounded buffet experience, this one's going to disappoint. And at this level, it shouldn't. So we'll be back, but not very soon. So if you do go, you're not likely to see us there. To see the Tao Group at its very best, click here. Or if you want to keep eating with us, check this out. If you enjoyed this video, liking, subscribing, or commenting helps us bring you more reviews. Until we eat again, bon appetit.